The man walked over and looked down at Snow. He prodded Snow's leg with his foot, but Snow didn't react. Snow's chin was down on his chest, and a bloody froth dribbled from between his lips. Blood pooled on the floor around his waist, a thick, treacly redness that seemed to sit on the surface of the carpet, refusing to sink into the pile. "Are you dead, Snow?" he sneered. "Don't tell me you're dead already." He raised his foot and stamped down on Snow's hand, crushing his bloody fingers. Snow's eyes opened wide and he screamed in pain. The man grinned triumphantly and levelled the gun at Snow's face. They filed into the jury box one by one, and Sam Greene could tell by the way they avoided looking at her that the news was bad. Her heart sank. "It'll be okay, Mum," said her son Jamie, giving her hand a small squeeze. Sam shook her head. "No, Jamie," she whispered. "It's not going to be okay." Sam's husband looked across at her from the dock. "Chin up, love," he mouthed. Terry looked tired. There were dark patches under his eyes, and when he smiled, Sam could see the worry lines etched into his forehead. She was sure there was a touch more grey at his temples, but he still looked good for 52, though, broad-shouldered and flat-stomached, with the confident good looks that turned the heads of women half his age. Sam fingered the small crucifix that was hanging around her neck on a thin gold chain. And hadn't that always been Terry's problem, she thought, too handsome for his own good. Sam tried to smile back at Terry, but she could feel tears welling up in her eyes, and she blinked them back. It wasn't fair. Her husband's fate lay in the hands of 12 men and women who knew nothing about him, and yet they, and they alone, had the power to put him behind bars for the rest of his life. Sam watched them as they took their seats. 8 women and 4 men. That was in their favour, Terry's solicitor had said, because Terry was a good-looking guy, and women were less likely to convict a man that they fancied. 3 of the jury were black, and even Lawrence Patterson had to admit that that wasn't such good news because the man Terry had been accused of shooting was black. "When all's said and done, they do stick together, Samantha, but let's look on the bright side, shall we?" he'd said, and he'd patted her gently on the shoulder the way you'd console someone at a funeral. That's what it felt like, Sam realised. It felt like a funeral. Everyone dressed in their Sunday best, faces sombre, avoiding eye contact, all gathered together to say a final farewell to Terry Greene. A tear ran down Sam's cheek and she brushed it away with the back of her hand, determined that no one would see her cry. She knew there'd be photographers outside, and they'd like nothing more than a picture of her with tears running down her face. She'd been in court every day, and without fail the tabloids had carried photographs of her arriving or leaving, always mentioning the fact that she was 48 years old and that she used to be a singer and dancer. "Faded 60s singer," one of the Daily Mail's more acid female feature writers had called her, and Sam had silently seethed at the unfairness of that. Her career had barely started to get off the ground before she'd met and married Terry, and as for faded, that was just malicious. She was the mother of 3 grown-up children, and under more pressure than she'd ever been in her whole life. How was she supposed to look? Radiant? Considering the pressure she was under, Sam figured that she looked damn good. At least one of the prosecution lawyers kept looking at her with more than a professional interest, smiling each time he caught her eye. Every morning she took extra care to get her makeup just right, enough to cover up the effects of not enough sleep, but not so much that she'd look as if she was trying too hard. And she'd been to the hairdresser to get her hair colour topped up just before the case started. Again, nothing too obvious, but she needed a little help to keep its original dark blonde sheen. Patterson twisted around in his seat and gave her a confident smile. She acknowledged him with a nod, but couldn't bring herself to smile back at him. "Will your foreman please stand?" said the clerk of the court. A middle-aged man got to his feet and self-consciously rubbed the bridge of his nose. Sam took a deep breath, steeling herself for the worst. Jamie squeezed her hand again, and she squeezed back. "Have you reached a verdict upon which you have all agreed?" "We have, yes." "On the charge of murder, do you find the defendant Terence William Greene guilty or not guilty?"